Hello, I'm the Reverend James Buxton, the chaplain in Izmir in Turkey, an ancient city known in the Bible as Smyrna. I've taken a trip to the north, about 300 miles, to another ancient city, and I'm standing at the gateway of that city, an impressive Roman gate. I'll give you a better view of it in a moment. And this is the city of Iznik, known historically as Nicaea. And the reason that I've come here is to tell you about how it was in this place that the Nicene Creed was composed 1700 years ago, in the year 325. And we will be celebrating this important 1700th anniversary in our diocese, together with many other Christians from other denominations and churches around the world, in this coming year. It was in about 320 that the Emperor Constantine called a meeting and sent out invitations to Christian leaders across the whole of the empire. I'm just going to step this over. Invitations were sent out to over 1,000 church leaders, bishops, and other church officials, inviting them to a conference to take place in spring 325. As it turned out, about 300 delegates came with their entourages. And they came from far and wide. If you think about the scope of the Roman Empire of that time, that's where they came from. North from Britain, Northern Europe, east from Spain, in the west from Spain, in the east up to the borders of Persia, and in the south to Sicily and North Africa. A truly terrific area. And those officials coming from the eastern side would have entered Nicaea through this very gate, which was built in the Roman period about the early 2nd century. So let's just have a look at the gate. The impressive bulwarks on either side. So as we stand in this spot, I'd like us to imagine those entourages coming here, many of them travelling probably for months, to be accommodated in the city by the emperor, who came just for the last part of the conference. Now, what was the aim of the Emperor Constantine in doing this? First of all, we have to remember that many of these Christian leaders had seen persecution, because Christianity had only been legalized in the empire about 12 years earlier than the conference was called. So you just think of the range of experience that those leaders had, who had led their communities often through terribly difficult times. And also from so many different situations and cultures. And yet they all gathered here because the emperor's concern in making Christianity a binding force in the empire was to ask the church leaders to stop squabbling and to come to a mind about how to define the Christian faith, which would allow them to be that binding force and to minister as the church in harmony. And the particular issue that was most at stake was the issue of the nature of Christ. There were many voices, including by a famous leader called Arius, that proposed that Christ was a lesser figure than the Father, a created figure, whereas the other faction which prevailed wanted to insist that Christ was fully divine. And that's why that concept at the heart of our creed is so important. And indeed, it's quite possible that if that principle had not been insisted upon, that the Christian project could have faded away during those early years of its presence at the heart of the Byzantine Empire. So, as I stand here today looking out at these great walls, I want to give thanks for our creed, for its focus on the divinity of Christ. And I'd like to invite you and everyone in our diocese to find ways of deepening our faith in Christ and valuing and celebrating our glorious Nicene Creed. Thank you.